Mr. Maurice Matheka, a relationship and sex therapist, is in the studio right now, like this second. He's here with us today and, to help us unravel this mystery. Maurice, karibu sana.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so very much. Just a quick introduction, Maurice, before we delve right into it. My name is Eric Omondi.
Pleasure to meet you, Eric.
We are the adults in the room. It comprises of four of us.
Okay.
Myself, this gentleman in glasses, his name is Emmanuel Kisiangani. He's our resident married man. He's the one who comes and boasts to us about his sexual escapades.
Amekatiwa fruits like this. And
to your left side is Barbara Imbahala Mbaka, or the Duchess of Ikolomani, as she often is fond of referring herself.
Yes.
And then the last person here, last but absolutely definitely not least, is Msikilizaji. All right? Msikilizaji sits here.
Right.
And this seat is unisex. So thank you so much for, according us.
So do we have anyone sitting there?
Yeah, there are two.
Yeah, there are two.
No.
There are two?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think I need to put on my mythical glasses. Let me do that now.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Matheka, just before we dive too...
Call me Maurice. Mr. Matheka sounds just
way
too
Maurice.
official
Right.
for the kind of discussion we're going to have.
All right.
We're discussing orgasms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Not
Maurice,
Ebola.
Coronavirus.
Exactly. Oh, Corona. Yeah.
Maurice, I thought this would be important to get out of the way first. I was reading that it's called an orgasmia. An orgasmia is experienced by some 10 to 15% of women. And just let me finish.
Okay.
And of the female-bodied people.
Right.
It's also known as the inability to come.
Right.
All right. It may be caused, from my reading, by medications such as antidepressants and a history of trauma, or frustratingly, reasons unknown yet. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's dive right into it. Why do women have fewer big O's than men?
Well, let's start with a man's design. We are procreational in our nature. We have a penis that usually spouts out semen. So by nature, we are triggered, or we are built to have an orgasm whenever we have any sexual contact.
Yes.
Now, a woman's vagina is not designed to be able to have an orgasm just by the mere fact that a man's penis girth is actually rubbing against the vagina walls. So you find that women were designed more for the procreational nature, but not for the recreational sex that we're usually gunning for nowadays. So our design is based on the fact that as long as our penis gets any form of stimulus, we will be able to ejaculate. I mean, you do know as men, we don't need vaginas to ejaculate. We just happen to like the way they feel. That's why we like penetrating them. I mean, a man can be closed in this studio and be very proactive in having an orgasm. You could probably rub your penis girth on any of these mics and ejaculate. Now, a woman would really need to love these mics before she actually ejaculates.
True.
That's the difference.
But
The mic is enough. Oh yeah, the mic is enough. Or the sides of these tables that I'm seeing, they're very curvy.
Guys go through. It's very sad.
It's not sad. It's just the basics of humanity. Today, unfortunately, we judge ourselves based on who we are. Like, for example, if I say, I am Maurice Matheka, I'm a sexologist. To be honest, no. I'm Maurice Matheka first. I'm a human.
being.
I just happen to be a sexologist based on the knowledge that I've gained.
That's a by the way.
Exactly. So we forget that sexually, we're not having sex based on the fact that we are TV presenters or radio presenters or engineers, or we are having sex because that is a biological function that we have.
Yes.
With the fact that humans have evolved over the years, we've just evolved to want it to have fun rather than to procreate, to create children. So that's where we've evolved to over the years.
Maurice, that's a very interesting point you make there.
Yes.
I think, from a lot of my conversations with my friends, both male and female, there seem to be a lot of division about why a lot of us have sex. And it poses a question in my mind. Is or should orgasm be the only goal when it comes to having sex? Because I feel like men are somewhat divided about this. Some men want to have coitus for the obvious reasons you said, ejaculation. Again, you said that women want that companionship, the warmth to feel loved and whatnot.
I didn't say that, you said that, but continue. Yes, I know what you say. Yes.
But should orgasm be the only goal, or can it just be that we can agree to just have fun,
Because men take advantage, and we've had that conversation here.
Well, the truth of the matter is this. If we're talking about procreation, no. But if we're talking about recreational sex, this is my opinion. It is not a scientific fact. But if you're talking about recreational sex, if you're hunting down a woman to have sex, it's my belief that she should enjoy it as much as you should. You've just said that there's a debate between whether people should orgasm or not. But I don't think that debate is amongst men. Because I don't know that many men who want to penetrate a vagina and not at some point ejaculate. Fact. There's a portion of men who are not selfish, so they won't even ejaculate if the woman has not received her pleasure, but they work towards her pleasure. Now, I think the discussion should be based more on how does a woman achieve the knowledge or the know-how of having an orgasm. In my experience, I teach women how to have orgasms, how to squirt. I've been doing it for 18 years, so I'm pretty good at what I do. I just believe that there's a lot of pressure in regards to men trying to over-pleasure women. And a lot of these men are not skilled at sex. None of us went to sex school unless you actually studied some form of trade that actually taught you about human sexuality. So whether you're an engineer or a pilot, it doesn't mean you're going to understand a vagina. I mean, the most you'll know is how to find it, how to penetrate it, and hope for the best. Hence why men are always asking these questions. Am I big enough? Can you feel me? Are you coming? All these questions are from some form of doubt rather than masculinity and I know what I'm doing. So I think it's not a man's duty to pleasure a woman to the point of having an orgasm, but it's an added value to know a woman's body so you can give her an orgasm.
Whose duty is it?
Exactly.
Our duty.
Both
It is,
of you.
yes, it is a woman's duty to know herself. Yes. But the problem is women, for example, in Kenya, are not channeled to know about their sexuality like they do in parts of Uganda and Rwanda. So that's a failing on our society. But no, an orgasm does not come from the fact that a man has penetrated a woman. It comes from the fact that the inner vagina membrane has been stimulated. It's all about stimulus. If you give a woman the stimulus she needs, she'll have an orgasm. And she'll have an orgasm over and over again. So it's not really about us and our masculinity. I know that's how sex is, and that's why sex has become very competitive with men. But once a woman is conditioned to be able to have an orgasm, then regardless of which man she sleeps with, she'll actually have an orgasm. I'm also for women self-exploring. If you understand yourself, the same way men masturbate. Men pretend they don't know their penises. We're very friendly with our penises when women are not around. It's just an option. But because of our society, women are not taught that they can self-discover. And then we have this attitude where men don't want women to self-discover because apparently it's our job to touch their vaginas. Since when? I never filled that form. So I think women should be in a position to be able to self-explore. She'll be in a position to then tell you how she likes to be pleasured. I think the biggest problem with men in general is we think we know what we're doing. We're not born with a vagina. So don't you think it would be plausible to ask somebody who has one? Absolutely. The same way if a woman is going down on you as a man, some women are not very good at it. You know, they may pull it and look like they're jerking it off. So it'll be your position to tell her how you'd like it stroked, true or false. So I think we're lacking communication in terms of each gender and how we like things, displayed and done when it comes to sexuality.
I'd like to just take you back what you said,
yes.
And I would like to understand, is it lack of communication from a man or lack of skills? Because in this sense, when you are having intercourse together,
yes.
and this particular lady, you're not able to stimulate her
yes.
for her to have an orgasm.
Yes.
So this particular man ejaculates as
yes.
normal.
Yes.
And the lady is left hanging. And so I'm a bit confused. Is it that the man lacks the skill, or I do not know myself as a woman to communicate to where he needs to meander or maneuver to get me there? Because that is why when you're asking, it's a debate. We've had those questions like, should a woman actually orgasm every experience? Or if you're in a married relationship, we've had this conversation here, and the man likes making fun and says, you'll come on Monday or Sunday because it takes a long time for me to get you to reach there. So I will come 3 times in a week. Okay. You will come once a week.
You mentioned the word marriage.
Yes, like in a marriage, there are many women who are married,
Yes.
and unfortunately, they are not able to orgasm.
Yes.
I was once married, and I was
I
in
meet
such.
them every week. Yes.
Yes, I
and
was
have
in
done
one.
for years.
I was
Yes.
in such a situation.
Yes.
It took me to get out of the marriage, as you're saying, to get to know myself.
Correct.
To be able, but there are many people who are not, so they give that responsibility to their husbands. So is
Okay.
it the lack of communication, or is it that man is unskilled?
I think that question is very deep. I'm going to give you very good time to answer that question when we come back from the break.
Super duper.
Yeah, we're hanging out with Mr. Maurice Matheka, but he's
Maurice.
not said,
Maurice.
Maurice.
Yes.
You know, he prefers Maurice to
Not
Maurice.
prefers. That is my name. I don't know why we're debating my name.
Man,
That's very awkward.
I'm just fooling around, man. But thank you so much for making the time, my brother.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
I like the energy in the room.
Yeah, the energy is fire, man. And as you can see, man, you have to tell a friend to tell a friend. Brothers, we have to gather around because I feel like, we're going to get what we call an education, man. But meanwhile, Eric, there's something that you want to share, and I'm sure Maurice is going to come through for this particular plan.
Oh, yeah.
So the magical Kenya Open presented by Absa Bank is back. Yes, it is. You want to mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. It's a party. From Thursday the 12th of March all the way through to Sunday the 15th of March. You want to come and catch some of the world's best golfers battle it out for a shot at glory. Where at, you wonder, at the Current Country Club.
Yeah.
As always, with the magical Kenya Open, there'll be lots of food, of fidangas, music, and world-class entertainment. And I know you're like, where are the tickets? Where are the tickets? Oh my God, where are the kids? Don't worry, no. The tickets are available just for you. Simply go to www.kenyaopen.golf. I tell you what, Emmanuel, there are some phenomenal acts on these scene, these 3 days. From Zimbabwe, there's Robinson. From Nigeria, there's Andrew Odo. And from South Africa, just to mention a few, there's Toto Timba.
And from Kenya, our country, we have Dismas Indiza, Simon Gige, Greg Snow, among others. I've been sharing with you that you don't have to worry, man. You just come and park your car at the waterfront and just enter a shuttle. Eric, you said that shuttle will have AC.
AC, man. AC, security will be taking care of your car.
Will they have some wet wipes? Ukiingia kwa shuttle unajipanguza
You're
kiasi.
going to Current Country Club, man. It's not an ordinary.
You don't want to
equipment.
get in there sweating.
Yo, man. They are top
Go and
notch.
shower before you get to work.
This one is going to be fun.
It's
Magical Kenya Open.
We are open.
And Eric, we're also open for music, man. We're also known for soul music right here. We have some
Absolutely.
Tracy Chapman coming up right now. Shout out to you, Joel, and the rest of your crew. 20 minutes past 8 o'clock. We are the adults in the room. And Barbara.
Yes, darling.
I sense fire, man. Fire, follow me. It's going to be a fire show tonight. We're in studio with Maurice Matheka, and we're talking about male and female orgasms. Thank you so much, my good sir, for making the time to come here and spend this evening with us.
Thank you for inviting
We don't
me.
take that for granted. Now, before we get back into the conversation, Eric, I just want you to talk to your lady friends and tell them to get on Twitter.
Let me tell you, Maurice,
Yes,
Twitter
yes.
is already ablaze, man.
Oh, it's a blazer.
It's either one or two things. Either people really love sex or they're really keen to learn. So one or two. A very good evening to you. And oh, goodness, thank you so much for choosing 94.4. And I'll tell you what, your comments and feedback are coming in like fire. I'll try and read some of a few as we get along. Nessie says, good evening, good people. My notebook is out. I'm tuned in.
Super.
Women are writing notes.
Awesome.
Also says, now this is a topic. Kudos adults in the room. I'm all ears. Karibu sana, Alsa. And Dennis Washira. It's hot. Tips they come through, please. Angeline Kiplagan says, I'm so in. Just want to take the lessons as usual. Say hi to Maurice. I love you all. Umesalimika. And then David Mushoki tuned in now. And Lillian and Angie, there's so many feedback. Thank you so very much. Remember, you're part of this conversation, not only now, but even later. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Remember to tweet your thoughts and feedback about what Maurice is sharing. And remember also, just to keep you ready with your airtime from 9 all the way to 10 o'clock, that will be your golden opportunity to call Maurice live and ask your questions live in the studio on the air. Barbara, what are you hearing?
Fantastic.
I have people, everyone has their notebooks. Nancy Okech says, taking notes. I'm loving this Tracy Chapman. And Lagat says he's tuned in from Nani. Oceans Jack says, I am waiting. And someone is asking for the frequency for Nakuru. That is 96.0. We are discussing male versus female orgasms. What are the types, causes, and misconceptions? And we have Maurice Matheka, who's with us to just help us get a better understanding of what we were talking about.
Barbara, you does something.
Yes, I had a question, and I liked what you said. Sometimes it's the lack of skill from men. So I have to put it like this: when you're in a relationship with any man, whether it's dating, whether it's a relationship, or whether it's a marriage, and you do not get to achieve an orgasm as a woman, yet the man is constantly having one, is it the lack of skill from the man that I cannot get there, or is the lack of communication from me, or is it me who doesn't know my body to communicate to this man?
Okay, let's start with the basics. Majority of men believe that as long as he's penetrated you, that should ignite an orgasm.
Mm-hmm. Which kind?
That is very mythical.
Yes.
But it is the word out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put too much pressure on men. It's not really about skill, because when it comes to skill, the one thing men know how to do is find the vagina and penetrate it.
Yes.
I think we've just moved to the recreational part where women have to enjoy it as well as men.
Yes.
So I think women should start learning about their bodies more. If you look at the Kenyan dynamic, there are men who tell me they're not interested in learning.
Yes.
So you can't change that attitude. Mm-hmm. You can't change that psychology. Mm-hmm. So I think,
they think
just for everyone to enjoy themselves. No, there are men out there who come to me and have really gained a lot of knowledge, and today they can make a woman orgasm at ease without a problem.
Yes.
But that's because they've understood. You know, the one thing is we sexualize everything. When I look at a vagina, I look at a muscle. Mm-hmm. Because I'm talking about it professionally. If I'm having fun, then it's a vagina that I happen to like. Mm-hmm. But if I'm talking about it professionally, then I understand how the muscle works and the stimulus that you need to give it. Now, there are men who understand that. But don't you think, so that the woman can own our orgasm, it's time that women started going for sessions where they learn about their trigger system?
Yes.
That way, if they happen to have a husband or a boyfriend or a casual lover who wants to listen, kudos. But if you have the guy who's not interested in your orgasm, he's only interested in his, then you're going to get a raw deal for the rest of your life if you spend it with him.
Yes.
So I think it's time that women, like women in parts of Rwanda and Uganda, start learning, how do I achieve that orgasm? The number one even causes me to have multiple orgasms and I can squirt. As long as women have the power and ownership of their orgasm, you'll find a lot of people in bedrooms will be far happier than trying to get men to learn, because many don't want. The few want to.
Yes.
Learn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, you get my point?
So
yes.
This heavy burden then fully rests on us as brothers.
Aren't you so happy?
No. The burden, if you choose to call it that way, it's not a man's responsibility to always pleasure a woman. But in my view, it is always a bonus for a man to know what he's doing skillfully if he's trying to pleasure a woman. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that.
All right. So the burden, okay. For
example, let me give you a very simple example.
All right.
We're talking about orgasms as if they only triggered by intercourse.
Yes.
Let's assume a man is with a woman and he wants to pleasure her first because he knows the minute he penetrates her, chances he's going to ejaculate and it will be all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he learn how to pleasure her and get her to climax before he ever penetrates her? Mm-hmm. That's fair game. Yeah. Unless you're a very lazy man, you should be able to touch a woman in a certain way.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're touching her with your fingers, whether you're licking her with your tongue, it's foreplay. Those men who don't want to learn foreplay, the unfortunate thing is, if you don't do it, somebody will. That's just the world we live in.
Yes.
Unless your woman lives in the bundu somewhere in the forest where she only meets animals, she's going to meet other animals in Nairobi. Those animals will tell her, well, if he's not going down, I am. So I think it's our responsibility. I don't want us to tell men that we have the easy way out and it's not our responsibility. As long as you choose to have sex with a woman for fun, not to create a baby, then it is your responsibility to at least know something about her vagina.
Alrighty.
You know, Maurice,
Yes.
you've mentioned Rwanda and Uganda.
Yes.
I have a quick story. One time I went to Uganda. I met a woman on Twitter.
Yes.
And I wrote on Twitter, I said, oh, yay, I'm so excited, I'm going to Uganda.
Yeah.
And then she DM'd me and said, are you serious? You're coming to my motherland? Are you
Yes.
for real now?
Yes,
So I said, yeah,
yes.
I am. So then I landed at Entebbe, and she said, I would like to see you. So I said, yeah, sure thing. So when is your flight? We get to chatting. I said, this time and that time. So I'm at the airport, and my phone rings. And it's a Ugandan number. So I pick and said, have you landed already? I said, yes, I have landed. Is this my darling? Let's call her Joanne.
Yes.
She said, yes, it is Joanne. And guess what? I have come to pick you. So I'm like, good Lord, look at me, man.
I know.
So then she's come to pick me up. So we
Yes.
drive all the way to Kampala.
Yes.
And what struck me, the conversation, because Uganda has a lot of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
She kept asking me questions, especially sexual questions about Kenyan women.
Yes.
And she said, you know, I have heard that Kenyan women do not even get the water.
Yes.
What is that about the water?
Yeah,
Is
they
it
call it the
food,
water.
The food that you eat. They are dry Kenyan women. Like all Ugandan
Haters.
men come to Kenya and they say Kenyan women are dry.
Yes.
So from your experience,
Yes.
are there some types of foods that maybe our women can eat so that they are more readily maybe?
Okay.
Are they hating on us?
It's like asking me, is there a food that a man has to eat for him to ejaculate? That's what you've asked me. The answer is no. Our problems
The
are
what?
not our
what?
food.
The what?
Our problems is laziness when
The
it
what?
comes to recreational sex.
Yes.
That same water you're talking about, I've been invited to Uganda by the same people who teach traditionally. But I went there, they already squirt. I went there to teach them the science behind why
They do
All
that.
right.
they do it. That's why they call it the water. They're not scientific, but they understand the body because of their practices. And you'd be surprised, before the Muzungu invasion, this continent was very liberal sexually. But that's a topic for another day. So when I was there, I was teaching them about the science. But other than the science, there is a culture we have here where we've made sex taboo. Let's just agree on that.
True.
And whenever you talk about sex, people frown or pretend they don't talk about sex, yet they're doing
It's an
it in all these
abomination.
hotels and stuff like that. Yes, so we are very pretentious. So our women have very little avenue to even go to somebody or find somebody who's willing to teach them what they need to know. That's the problem we have. We've not made sexuality a culture. What we've done is we're very good at Kenyans at driving to Nyanyuki and Nakuru and Naivasha and Mombasa, the same people who don't have sex.
Yes.
And we have a lot of it in Naivasha.
In hidden places.
Yes, we're very good at hiding our sexuality, but we are not embracing sexuality the way we should. We think it's something that should be done behind closed doors, but yet we're doing it in bushes when we're in Naivasha. So we're very pretentious. One of the things that we need to do is we need to restructure how we deal about sex. And then the other problem is this: we've sexualized everything. No wonder everything is hidden.
Yeah.
Let's assume we are pals.
Yes.
If me and her are seen at Java having coffee, there are some Kenyans, a portion of Kenyans, not everyone, who will say, Maurice and her must be up to something.
Yes.
And we cannot be having just a conversation,
Conversation.
just a man and a woman having coffee. No. If you and I are having coffee, that's allowed, because what could we be doing? We can't make each other squat. Yet we could be gay, true or false?
True.
So we've sexualized any friendship to do with a man and woman, and that's wrong. So we should be more liberal so that our women can start learning about themselves.
All right.
So, Eric, before you ask, I know you have something you wanted to say, but as a married man, like I'm a married brother.
Yes.
Is there, because we've had this conversation before and Barbara alluded to it.
Yes.
Is there a possibility on this planet Earth
Yes.
that your wife can actually experience, climax every time that you engage? Or is it, because me, I had my own theory of...
But it's not her title that's orgasm, it's her vagina. So yes, your wife who happens to be a woman, who happens to have a vagina, can have an orgasm.
He's of the feeling women
I always find it strange when people say, I have a wife, or I have a mother, or I have a daughter. They have vaginas. It's the vagina that needs to orgasm, not their title.
Can I give you a high
Yeah,
five?
so this person, title aside,
Yes, title
Maurice,
aside, yes.
they can achieve orgasm every time you engage.
If
in
they
sex.
learn, yes.
Yes.
If they learn, yes.
If they learn.
If they learn, yes. Which makes your life easier. There's a reason why I've existed for 18 years. And I don't have scandals because I'm very good at what I do. Women who come to me can't have an orgasm or have never enjoyed sex. After a few sessions, she starts actually having an orgasm with her man. So I'm also helping those women who have decided that maybe my man is the problem.
He's
so let me
lazy.
see if I can learn how to enjoy with him.
All right.
And I can tell you this, I mean, because it's a discussion that men fear. A lot of women who come to me also tell me that, you know what, if you fail me, I might actually dog on my man. So what she's doing is she's putting pressure on me not to fail. I've never failed. Failure is not an option. So as long as you do the stuff that I'm teaching you, orgasms will come as second nature. But now that makes it easier for her to be able to enjoy, and it eases the pressure on a man. Because there are men out there who are having sex and they're doing their best. You know, the problem is they're over humping or whatever, a lot of sweating and no results.
In fact, I just want us to get into that. In fact, let me just remove my coat.
Oh, please do.
Because
Please
this
do.
train
It's getting hot in here.
So, what are the things that we're supposed to do now, practically? Let's say, as speaking from a brother's point of view, I'm married.
Yes.
This person who has the vagina, as you said,
Yes.
has never experienced consistent orgasms.
Yes.
Like, how can I improve my game? Like just a couple of tips, like from like if you're
I
sharing.
can see you
with
want an easy way out.
They're called the
for those people
micro-generation.
for those people who know me very well, professionally, I can't tell you something that's not going to work. So as much as we're talking as brothers, I don't want to tell you that if you nibble on her vagina in a certain way, some magic is going to happen. My good man, you're going to do what everybody else does. You and I and your wife must have a session. Then I'll take you through that session for 3 to 5 hours. So by the time you leave there, you're like, oh my God, I've actually learned something and I've seen results. It is a very powerful thing if you as a man are able to trigger your woman's orgasm with ease. I've had those results, but I can't help those who don't want to be helped. But I'm not going to tell you today to touch somewhere you've never touched
but I want
before,
to.
because
Okay,
I'm sure you have.
Like just give me one at least. Like just give me like a teaser. Just because honestly,
Okay,
man,
let me give you a teaser. Let me take, and you need to implement this. And all the men who are listening.
I'm sure there are many.
Okay. The inner vagina, whenever you finger a woman, if you curve your finger upwards, what do you feel? I'm asking you this question. We're having a banter right now. What do you feel?
You asked a question.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
Yes, what do you feel? If you put your finger in a vagina and you curve it upwards, what do you feel? What does that upper vagina feel like?
some sort of wall-like thingy.
Well, the entire vagina has a wall, so that's an easy way of answering. So let me just make it easy for you.
Yeah.
It's a very spongy
Mesophilea.
membrane, very spongy, and it's only on the upper level. If you go down, there's nothing. Up, there's a spongy. That layer, what you need to do is, if you curve your finger like this, and you apply a lot of pressure, if you apply enough pressure, she'll feel like peeing. That feeling like peeing means that you're stimulating her G-spot. If you concentrate on that G-spot long enough, you'll trigger her to have an orgasm. So you go home and try that. But the first thing I need to advise is make her at ease. You see, she's coming from a point where she's never done something, and also have a conversation about what you're going to do first. You can't go home and throw her in the bed and start folding her in ways you've never folded her before.
Yes.
You're going to have a fight, and then she's going to basically crunch her legs, and none of what I've told you is going to work. So she needs to be very at ease, like a contortionist, and things will happen.
Maurice, I'm glad you said that. I've told the story about how I was once in a situationship.
Yes.
And I'm a very patient man. Patient is one of the virtues I espouse.
Patience is good.
So this lady gave me all the instructions. Coupled with patience, I'm a good listener.
Good.
So she said, what you're going to do is you're going to take A and put it on F. This sort of this thing you've said.
Yes.
And then I tried minute 1, 2, and she was really getting excited. Minute 15, getting excited. Minute 26, getting excited. However, my hands were growing dead and numb. So
Really?
You're using the wrong technique.
No, so I pushed myself. Mkono yangu ya left ikaganda.
Yes.
Then the right hand pia ikaganda.
Yes.
So damu ikaisha kwa mkono zangu mbili.
Okay.
So we are
Were
going
you
into
taking
42 minutes.
Right.
And she had not arrived. Eh?
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, this is quite cumbersome. How
Right.
much of patience should men like Emmanuel who are married or a man listening practice?
Yes.
Because I feel like to get a lot of women there, you need a lot of patience.
No. You just need technique.
Thank you.
All these things you're saying, patience, those are just excuses. You should be able to make a woman orgasm the point of squirting within 3 minutes. When I say within, I'm hoping that you master it so well that within 30 seconds, you get her there.
Oh, wow.
I know what I'm talking about. It's possible. It's not magic.
You don't need an
And
hour.
the thing is, everybody can do it as long as you want to learn how to do it.
All right.
There are guys here in Kenya who are amazing at it. And they only came for one session, but it was a very long session. Today, they are the Tim Masimbas of this country. And they feel good about it because now they don't have to sweat and plead with their non-ability. They know exactly what to do. And the funny thing is, this is how men react when they learn. They're like, dude, I should have known this like 30, 40 years ago. Because he's thinking, it's so easy. And the reason why your hand gandered is because you were putting a lot of force. The vagina is fragile. It's like an egg. The problem with us men, when we don't know what we're doing, we enter there like we're gymming.
Thank
It's like we're going to get a gold medal.
Fujo.
We don't, yes, and we end up leaving there without a bronze. So as long as you learn how to be sensual towards the stimulus, you'll gain like this.
So Emmanuel, what I'm hearing is that a lot of us have been ignorant for a long, long time.
you. all lack skills.
And then we...
I'm
No,
just
no,
saying-
ignorance is a good word,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, we are
Yes.
ignorant for a long time. And then also, I feel like women have not made it easier for us for the simple reason that a lot of women are shy to self-explore, so that even in themselves, they don't know what would tick.
Can I ask you a question? And
Yes,
I'll be
yes.
very honest.
Yes.
If you find your woman butt naked on your bed trying to touch herself, how would you react?
Honest. Be
Be honest.
very honest.
Be honest.
I've not thought about it, but I guess I'd be excited.
No, you'd
No,
not.
you'll
Do you know
not.
why you'd not? Because I looked at your face when I asked you that question. I'm a psychologist. One thing I do is read people's
Did he
faces.
look to the right?
Even
No,
you.
it's not about left or right. It's not about
saying
left or
Eric,
right.
I was looking at
Yeah,
both of
yes.
you.
First and foremost, you swallowed some saliva
Yeah.
because you had to digest how you're going to answer this. We're
What did
also
you
on air, so you don't want to look like you're too conservative. Yeah? So there's a status you need to maintain. I know what's going on here. So the answer there is no, you'd not be comfortable. Now, based on what you've just said, where women should be free, we don't give them the freedom. So they'll
Yes.
never learn themselves. Where is she going to do it? Because if she's not at home, she's at the office. If she's not in the office, she's in the supermarket. You want to find a woman at Carrefour touching herself? No. So clearly she has no space to learn herself.
And even when she lands
the
and comes with a
night-
new
The same
style,
way
she'll be creepy.
men who are married masturbate, don't they? But not in front of the wife.
Yes.
As long as there are sexual things we cannot do in one space, we will never learn anything. And we will be learning it in Naivasha with the wrong people. Fact.
Is it also a fact, sir, that you know the way you've heard obviously a lot about the premature ejaculation.
Ejaculation, yes, I have.
So is that when I come for these sessions with you, do
Yes.
you also give me some strategies
On how to improve your premature ejaculation.
Yes. And I'm 'cause
I encompass everything sexual.
there's that other one of now you play around for long, and then now
When you say
there's-
play around, are you talking about like
play around the
foreplay?
area, yes.
Your foreplay.
And then when you penetrate,
Yes.
in a couple of minutes you'll be
Not to
done.
play around the area.
It's
Areas. Women have more than one area.
Oh,
Please
the
tell
areas.
them.
Yes, areas.
Tell them.
areas.
So is there
Arousal
a way?
zones,
Yes.
many, yes.
Is there a way also as you're now penetrating,
Right?
like you can actually last longer? Because now you play around the areas, and then
yes,
for 1 minute you're inside, and then you're done.
Now, let me tell you how this works. Any man who wants to improve his endurance has to basically train in two things: the physical and mental. You can't have one without the other. The reason why you normally ejaculate a lot is because you think about the ejaculation instead of thinking of what you're doing. You always think about the destination rather than the journey. Whereas you find that a lot of women, as much as they like climaxing, they love enjoying the journey. So sometimes, even when some women, when they feel they want to orgasm, they do their best to hold it back. Especially those women who know that once they have an orgasm, that will be it. So she wants it to last longer. Now, men, the one technique that most men around the world uses, you try and hold. Now, holding, it just makes it worse. Because the minute you hold, you're forcing your mind to think about why you're holding. Why are you holding? Because you want to ejaculate. The minute you trigger ejaculation thought, you're going to be very explosive and you'll be done. As in, there won't.
And that's why they say they start thinking about wrong things.
Yes, and that's and thinking about pigs flying and your grandmother, that's not going to help.
Dump site?
No. Yeah, if you think about the dump site,
They think about the dump site.
your erection will go south. So what you need to do is you need to learn how to mentally be more beastly than loving. There's one thing I always tell men: don't love your woman during sex. That's the worst thing you can do. Because when you love her, you tell how you feel. Our emotions are run by neurochemicals. Those neurochemicals trigger certain functions. So if you tell a woman, oh my God, I love you, what are you triggering? You're triggering an orgasm.
Yes.
So you can't hold it back. That your brain is one of the strongest mechanisms you have. So it's more beastly. That is why the guy who has no emotional affiliation to a woman will always find himself lasting a bit longer because his job was to pound. His job was to authoritate her vagina. You're coming home as a loving husband and you're overly loving. That's why you're overly coming a lot.
And this other one is coming like a beast.
This other guy is
Animal
yes, he's more of a beastly. You're even wondering why isn't he coming? Because I'm used to guys coming very fast.
Yes.
He's come there with a beastly attitude. Now you need to change that, plus a few penis exercises. But now the other problem is this. When women come to me and I tell them do something for 6 to 8 weeks or even months, they do it. The problem with a man is he'll succeed in doing something. But if you tell him you need to do this for 8 weeks for it now to be second nature, he looked like 8 weeks like it's 2 years. It's only 8 weeks. So I'm wondering, you can't sacrifice certain exercises just for 8 weeks. Then clearly you don't want to change as bad as you thought you wanted to change. Men like shortcuts, and there's nothing like a shortcut. It took me many years to know what I know today. If I could learn it in 5 minutes, it would be great. But it didn't. So everything takes time, but you get results. And then another question men ask, will I change in 2 days? No. If you go to the gym right now, are you going to bulk up in 2 days? No. But you're going to start a routine. That routine at some point, I may tell you 8 weeks, but you could achieve it in 4 because you have dedicated yourself to changing your mindset that triggers your usual premature condition.
94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room. We're together all the way till 10 o'clock. And, we're having one of those amazing discussions right here in the studio. We're here with Maurice Matheka. We're talking about male and female orgasms. And, Eric, I'm feeling like I don't know anything, Mazi.
That's a good feeling.
That's what I'm feeling.
I feel like people are preaching.
It's a good feeling.
Doing
Information is powerful.
Let me just relax and listen to some Monica as I think about my thoughts. We'll be back. 11 minutes to 9 o'clock. We are the adults in the room, the home of soul music, man. We have authentic conversations, and we also, lace it with some music which will take you way, way back. Today we have one of those amazing shows, man. I love today's show, like I do the others. We're in studio with Maurice Matheka, and he's just dropping gems, like too many gems, man. Like there are too. Hey, like I just feel like just sitting there and just listening, there on that chair. But unfortunately, niko na kazi hapa. Niko na kazi hapa penye nimekaa. So I gotta do it, man. Eric, are you hearing anything, my brother?
There's tons going on. A very good evening to you, and thank you so very much. We always love to hear from you, as Emmanuel has said. We are in the studio. Maurice.
Maurice.
Maurice Matheka. Maurice is a relationship and a sex therapist and an all-round amazing guy. I can tell you after just 1 hour 50 minutes of being with him.
Asante sana.
So yes, so if you're wondering what is Maurice doing there, he's doing just this. We are talking about male versus female orgasms, the facts, the types, the causes, and absolute misconceptions that you need to unlearn. So you are really, really in for a treat. If you want to share your feedback, you can definitely, absolutely do that on Twitter and on Facebook, and as well as Instagram. Remember, in the next 10 minutes, you can call us live on 0719012600 and share your thoughts about the conversations we've been having. I see Philip here. He says, I guess these Beach Boys bang. Yo, I couldn't read that, but it's in text. He says the Beach Boys are in a beast mode. Yes, absolutely. Miss Limo says, where Maurice therapy, serving the truth. Wanawake wanakubaliana. Thank you.
Hata ule yuko hapo kwa studio anakubaliana.
There's Philip again says, thank you for the guest. Obimba, not Odhiambo, I beg your pardon. Obimbo Victor says, hi, loving the topic and it's hot. Maurice, absolutely salute, sir. Absolute salute. He says he's listening.
Thank you very much, man.
With Oscar, Sarah, and Wendy. Keep your thoughts coming. There are so many. We love to hear from you. Barbara, what are you hearing?
I have a gentleman by the name Joel K. Chanda. He said, where? I'm listening to Smiles FM from LD. I feel like I've always been living a lie.
Maze.
I think I
Maze,
know nothing about
bro,
it.
Maze.
Amaloi, who was unwell, she says she thinks she's feeling better and hot. Everybody's tuning. If you have a question, if you have anything to ask, you could also plug into this conversation through all our social media handles. That is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, Maurice,
Yes.
I would like to ask, for a woman who wants to know or explore herself better, how do I go about this, or where do I start?
You start by contacting somebody like myself.
Yes.
You can go to my site, which is mauricetherapy.com. You find me there, then we have a bit of a chat. We schedule a session, and I teach you what you need to know.
What's the period? It may be a madame blonde. I don't call myself. I'm zero. Maybe I don't even orgasm. So how long will that take me?
A session is usually anywhere between 3 to 5 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
So I come when I have time.
When you have time, yes.
Yes.
Because I need you to leave there with information and also a sexual know-how that actually benefits you. There's no point having a session with me if you're only going to learn something today and then by tomorrow it's useless.
So even for the guys, it's the same thing, 5
Yes,
hours?
yes, yes.
So I walk in, Emmanuel, I leave there Superman.
Yes, you leave there Superman. As long as you follow my guidelines, or you'll be Superman for a very long time.
I know you'll be there. I know you'll be there over the weekend. Can someone come? Do people come as couples?
Yes.
Okay.
There's something that you mentioned when we were having these chats when the music was playing about sexual friendship.
Yes.
But do you want to explain that terminology? Because it's terminology to me.
Yes.
When you get married and sexual friendship.
Okay. I deal a lot with married people more than singles. The one thing I've noticed that married people rely on, especially for their sexuality, you need to look at, I deal with two elements of married people. There's your day-to-day life, which means how you connect, how you do business together, your careers and stuff like that. But away from that, there's the sexual element. I always find that married people rely on the fact that they promised each other they're going to love each other for the rest of their life.
For better, for
and
worse.
they think that ingredient called love is going to be exercised very well and potentially boost their sex life. Love is one of the most useless emotions humans have, and especially when it comes to sex. You need to have sexual friendship that I see a lot of couples who are married do not have. They have love, yes, but like you usually say, love does not pay bills.
Yes.
Neither does it give orgasms. So what you need to do is you need to learn the biological sense of how to, one, seduce each other. A lot of married people don't seduce one another. There are many excuses. Two people who have lived together. I mean, what's the seduction
I'm
about?
busy.
Why am I flirting? I already know him. I know. The thing is, our brains need affirmation. Our brains need an ignition. We need some fuel. All of us are on WhatsApp. And whether you want to admit it or not, there is somebody on WhatsApp who usually reminds you that, hey, by the way, I saw you. You looked hot. You looked cute. You looked handsome. You looked beautiful. We love that. If you're not hearing it in your own home, if in the office people are saying, oh my God,
You smell nice.
you smell so good. Oh, I love your shoes. And then at home, nobody notices that you smell like anything, and they don't notice your new hair or your shoes, or even for a man, you've bought a new suit. Your wife doesn't notice. She just acknowledges that you're the guy who services the bills. So as long as you're just a service provider, there can never be some sexual ignition, which means over time, you're going to lose whatever sexual friendship you ever had.
True.
Some couples, believe it or not, have never had sexual friendship because their need to get married was based on necessity. Yes, they had all this magical romance that led to the marriage, but their first initial reason they got married is because they have to follow social order.
Yes.
So they never enjoyed being girlfriend and boyfriend, being playful, going for cinema, having sex in the car, cooking together. They never had that. There was a construct in how they actually came together. So they've never had that sexual friendship, which means their sex became boring. It became obligational. It became procreational. So their sex only meant that
Then
we're going to have
after
sex if we happen to want to add one more
If she's
child.
in a mood.
Or you're in the mood. You've got that horny spike, and you're just thinking, if I don't give this one, we're just going to have an argument for 2 weeks. So that's the obligation I'm talking
Let's
about.
deal with it.
So I find that a lot of married people need to start nurturing their sexual friendship if they ever had it, or they can nurture it now. It's never too late, but the problem is when the married people tell me, well, it's very hard for me to look at my husband or my wife differently, that clearly means every time they see you, they've attached something to you. If you're a man, other women find you handsome. They find you hot. Maybe you go gymming. So you're the depiction of hot. When you walk into your house, your wife remembers all the
Service.
crap you've given her,
Service
all the
provider.
promises you've not delivered, the fact that there's a school fees you neglected. So there'll never be a sexual trigger. And that is why you find even the man, once he starts having sex with his wife, in his brain, he can concord the fact that he wants to have sex, but the minute he starts having it, he loses an erection.
So that's why we have
There's
the
no lust
rapture.
factor.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
There's only love. But that love is more of a nurturing, it's more of a caring, it's more of a, I've decided that under this roof, I'll take care of my family. That's an egotistic thing.
I'm protecting
It's something
her.
that you feel, if I don't do, society will judge me. So you do it so well. But because society won't judge you if your wife is not having an orgasm or not,
You don't care.
you don't care about that. So it's also about how we've been socialized to look at life.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff, man. In fact, I was just writing notes over here. And when you talk about love is a useless emotion, but that's only in regard to sex.
Yes, I mean, love is useless in regards to our sexual drive. It's very useless.
Love
Because-
won't get you an orgasm.
Because you're very loving when you're cuddling and watching a movie.
Yes.
But the minute she tells you, babe, I want some, your brain can easily go like, ooh, but I don't want any. Like, I liked this cuddling. So that's already telling me that your sexual drive has probably diminished, or at that particular moment, she's failed to trigger something. But look at two people who have just met. Every time one touches the other, there's a mood to be flexible. Why? Because everyone is trying to play nice. So that's also a psychological enforcement on human beings. But the minute the dust settles and now you live together,
Get
and
used to it.
and it's just human nature to go like, well, I've conquered, so I don't think I need to conquer
Okay.
all the time. Now that attitude is what at some point will diminish your sexuality. I meet a lot of couples who they hardly argue. They're actually very good friends. But the minute they go to the bedroom, nothing works. Her vagina is as dry as a desert. His penis cannot have an erection. That doesn't mean they don't love one another. Clearly, because they're always laughing and doing business together, there's a loving atmosphere they've created over the time. But the problem is they don't have sexual friendship.
So if I hear you correctly, Maurice, you're saying that
Yes.
while love is good,
Yes.
knowledge is supreme.
Knowledge of the human
Of anatomy,
sexual anatomy
absolutely.
is supreme.
Yes.
And also knowledge of seduction. Seduction is not love. Flirting is not love.
We'll talk about that when we come back. We are the adults in the room, and we have a special guest right here in the building. And we're talking about male and female orgasms with Maurice Matheka. We are getting your feedback loud and clear. And guess what? When we come back, the lines are open 0719 012 600. It's 9 o'clock. And you know, man, the gems are too many, man. Too many gems. You have to come back again, sir, man. You have to come back. I know it's too early to start telling you some stuff, but for me, you have to come back again.
I'll be back, man. If you invite me, I'll come back.
You must be back. 0719 012 600. That's the number. The lines are open. We have this resource here for the next 1 hour, and you can actually take advantage of this, man. Eric, there's something you're asking before we went
I was actually making a comment from what Maurice had said. I said that from the deductions I've gotten is that knowledge of human anatomy or seduction far supersedes the feeling of love. So that's a take home for me. Before I ask you a question, Maurice, the other thing I've learned, I'm just reiterating, is for Emmanuel's sake also and Barbara's. I feel from what we've discussed that sex should be geared towards exploration rather than destination. All right, because especially as a man, because a lot of my friends are like, "Mazeni linjoti." So that feeling of destination should be removed. From
I have no idea what joti means, but I think from your facial expressions, I now know what it is.
The destination.
Yes. So my question to you is: does position make any difference when it comes to the big goal for women? Because I've heard again pub banter. A guy would say, unamweka hivi, alafu anakaa hivi, alafu sasa hapo lazima mfike.
Well, from experience, these guys in the bars who talk about positions usually are not in many positions in life.
Yes.
But they just like talking a lot to be relevant.
Yes.
But to answer your question, yes, there is a position that you find a particular woman likes, but it doesn't mean that it's the one that actually creates her to have an orgasm. It could aid, but you see, positioning can change depending on the man's girth, his length. If he has none of the above, then there's positions he needs to avoid.
If he's
like
vertically challenged,
like spooning is for men who know that they have some form of equipment, and especially girth.
Yes.
Long.
Yeah. Or sometimes if you're with a woman who has a big butt, if you put her in doggy, you'll be like a poodle trying to penetrate her. So you'll need a bit of girth as well in that position.
And people need to know their bodies.
So you need to know what position, even for you as a man, works better. You need to be in a comfortable position. I think also men, because of our egos, we tend to put ourselves in positions that are not needed. Like I find a lot of guys lifting women they shouldn't be lifting. Because you're not in the gym.
Yes.
You're here to make her enjoy. You're not here to also make her enjoy and for her to know that you have biceps. She knew you had biceps.
That's why
you're human.
There, maybe.
So and then you find yourself sweating for no apparent reason, and you're hemming more than her. And sometimes, especially if you live like in a community where your neighbors are not too far, you end up sounding like a bear who's sleeping by himself because they can only hear you and not hear the other woman. So their positions
Men
that can
really
give
try.
a woman an orgasm. But now, based on what I do for a living, if a woman's vagina is conditioned, then regardless of the position, she is going to be able to orgasm because there's something she's doing with her vagina instinctively now that she wasn't doing before. Like I should have mentioned this before. 90% of women around the world cannot orgasm because they crunch their vagina whenever they're having sex. Crunching means that she's trying to hold on to the man's penis girth. That crunching means that all our nerve centers are not responsive. So there's a very minimal blood flow. Whereas if she was to push out like a blossoming flower, it triggers the membrane inside her to expand and become spongy. When it's spongy, you have a spasm. Spasm causes you to orgasm. There's a science to all this. This is not about Matheka is a man, so he knows. No. There's a science, and I've done it for a long time. You know, if I don't know it now, tomorrow I should change and probably become a plumber or something. So as long as a woman gets to understand what conditioning is about, then she can orgasm all the time. And then I have to repeat this, especially for the men who are listening. It becomes so much easier to pleasure her. Or your battles of, sometimes, and let's be honest, sometimes when your woman is in the mood, sometimes you're not in the mood because you're thinking, last time I failed. Yeah. Even though she said she came, I know she didn't. So I don't want to be a failure again. So
I kept sleeping.
Yes, exactly.
And they fake it for them.
Yes, and and I'm glad you went there. Personally, I don't recommend women to fake.
Yes.
Because if you fake, you're giving an illusion to the man that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. So he'll never have any reason
to improve. Yes.
Because that same bar guy who's giving us positions is the same one who says, every woman he's ever touched comes.
Yes.
Yet every woman he's ever touched, by some luck, lied to him.
Yes.
And then he comes to lie to us
ego.
in the bar. Yeah, so it's all about ego. So let's move away from ego and practice things that work. Once a woman's vagina is conditioned, like I get a lot of Kenyan guys who've been to like Uganda, whether it's a long stay or short stay, and they always say, I even moved there. I got a job there because Kenyan women are boring. No. You didn't go to Uganda and invite Kenyan penis and you think now you're Superman. You're still the little poodle you were when you're still here. The only difference is the reason why women are squirting whenever you have sex with them is because your penis is only being a stimulus, but her vagina is conditioned to squirt regardless. She can squirt with her TV remote control.
Yes.
So your penis is not adding any value. So don't say Kenyan women are not boring. They're not boring. They've just not been socialized to learn about themselves.
So width then matter for women.
Width?
Yes.
No, girth is everything because it's the vagina wall is what triggers the orgasm. So if your penis can go all the way to her throat, then maybe you're a girl
God
throat.
bless your heart, but they matter.
I don't know. I don't even know why it's doing the throat. Yeah, because she can't come from throating.
Maurice, I've always wondered, do women experience, you would know this better than any of us,
yes.
Do women experience discomfort from unresolved sexual stimulations? Sort of the version of male blue balls?
Yes, they do. I mean, a lot of women tell me how they had sex with a man and she was very frustrated. And sometimes our frustrations, she takes them to the office. So it's not a myth sometimes when you find your female colleagues always ranting over very little things. There's a chance, there's a big chance that sexually she's not being satisfied. So she channels her energy differently. And that's because there's a chemical called dopamine. And dopamine makes us either very driven, and driven in terms of we're very happy or we're very aggressive. So just like men, women can have blue balls without having the balls. They get very frustrated.
So if you're a dismal performer, then you're frustrating somebody's daughter.
Yes, you are. But you don't have to be dismal if you just learn what you need to be doing. It's as simple as that.
Can also...
But there's one thing I want to make very clear.
Yes.
Over the years, men have been very pressured about premature ejaculation, which you mentioned. But there's one thing I need to say, and this is not to favor men. I'm a scientist, so I need to tell you the scientific truth. A man's premature ejaculation became a condition when we started having sex to pleasure women. A man is supposed to come fast. If he comes in 5 seconds, and then there's another guy who comes in 30 seconds, the 5-second guy is the one who's going as per his procreational design. But the problem here is...
That's a lazy lava
I can't believe you've actually added that club to it.
And tell me.
I can't believe you've added.
Do
you know many guys have said fuchs out there?
Check it, fuchs. No, they've said fuchs.
5 seconds, man.
Yes, but I'm trying to tell you that all of us at some point, as we were growing up, were misfiring as per recreational sex. But we were doing very well when it comes to procreational, which meant that we were not delaying to try and make her pregnant.
Yes.
But today, because we're not having sex to impregnate each other, it's recreational. So men now need to change and learn how to last longer for the recreational part of sex.
Emmanuel, have you had that part? change to last longer.
Yes.
But Maurice, there's a
Yes.
gentleman,
Yes.
for obvious reasons I would not name him, but
Okay.
not that I even remember his name, but he's
Right.
on Twitter a lot. He's a doctor.
Really?
All right.
No, for real. He's
Uh-huh.
on Twitter and he's a doctor. So I happened upon his tweet.
Yes.
And he was saying that, men are super lazy. Like him for the past many, many years, maybe
Yes.
3, he's been going on for at least an hour, 20 minutes.
Yes.
Because of the food he eats. At your
It's not the food.
At your normal man
Steroids.
should last for at least an hour.
It's not the food.
All right.
And I'm
So-
surprised he said that, considering he's a doctor.
Yeah.
But when it comes to doctors, I have a lot of problems with
Yes,
them when it comes to sexuality.
Yes. So ideally, if we are talking sex therapist
Yes.
to an amateur,
Yes.
what is the recommended or an ideal time frame
Uh-huh.
that a man should go on for?
Okay, to be honest with you, it's not really about how long
Yeah.
you should go, because you're not going at it alone.
Yes.
If you're going, if this guy lasts for 1 hour, yeah, and there are many men who last for an hour, even more. My question is, when he's lasting an hour, is he playing tennis? No, he's having sex with a woman. So the question should be about the woman. How should I apply something that causes a woman to react a certain way? If you ask me, how easy can it be to make a woman orgasm? I've already answered. Within 3 minutes, you can make a woman orgasm if you know what you're doing. Now, this guy is talking about 1 hour. You can do 1 hour and 1 hour of nothing but pounding. You've not made her climax. So, and if anything, you've over-frustrated her vagina.
Yes.
You've lasted a long time. Clearly, the neighbors know that you can howl like a bear, but you've done nothing to
You've
resort
tore
to her
Yeah.
pleasure. If anything, you could have mutilating her inner vagina.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not really about putting pressure on men. That's him saying that, but that's an egotistic view. He's not said whether he actually makes anyone come in that 1 minute. Maybe he likes his 1 hour stretching out.
It's more,
but he does
it's more of
nothing.
like an exercise or therapy. to
Exactly.
him.
But I don't think we should tell men that a minimum of 30 minutes is required, because you can actually upgrade to 30 minutes, but you might as well just be watching TV because you've done nothing for her.
Yes.
So I think it should be more about learning the physiology of how the woman's body works and how to trigger an orgasm. If you learn that, then
Whether you take
about
a minute
both
or
of
yeah.
5 minutes
And
or
there's
5
another
hours.
thing I need to tell men who are listening here. If you, for example, are in that position where you and your spouse or your girlfriend are always arguing about, or you don't initiate, or when I'm horny, you're not horny. You see, the one thing that we all run away from is, if I'm not in the mood, I'm thinking I have to coax her, we have to remove clothes, then I have to get my game on and my endurance. What if I fail? If my mood just won't change? Instead of doing that, to be honest, if my woman comes up and says, you know what, I want some, I'll be like, well, I already know what your trigger system looks like. I can actually make her orgasm without having to remove my clothes. All
Thank
she
you.
wanted was the orgasm. This unnecessary removing clothes, both of us, doesn't mean we get anywhere. But as long as I can give her something, and if I'm in the mood and I can clearly see she's not in the mood, I don't want to force her to remove her clothes so that I can penetrate her. The truth of the matter is this. If you just want to bust a nut, she can stimulate your penis girth and you come. The minute you come, you're done. So sometimes, without overcomplicating, it's not a must you remove clothes all the time.
But there are these penetrating chiefs who must penetrate.
No. Yeah, but now if you say that, we're excusing men because, and then now I need to mention this. We have to talk about all orientations. I think a lot of men are failing where women are gaining. In the last 10 years, there's a lot of bisexual nature going on, where even women who are married prefer stimulus from another woman. Do you know why? She does something you mentioned. She's patient, and she over time learns what that woman likes uniquely. So you'll find that your 1 hour pounding can't give her one orgasm. One woman touching her for just 10 minutes gives her 3.
Multiple.
So that should tell you something about just learning how to apply stimulus.
Lazy lovers.
Eric, I think Uganda tena mikono.
No, hey, by the time I'm done with Eric,
Ah,
he'll
yeah,
be,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
Eric ameganda mikono sana.
94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room. We're together all the way till 10 o'clock. And guess what? When we come back, I'm going to be picking up your phone calls back to back.
Oh, yes. We are the adults in the room. You guys caught me off guard. I was still hungover from Louis Armstrong. I love that song. I love Louis Armstrong. So King George says, Shoni Moto Sana. I'm going to be a legend. Wangare Mushui says, hi, today's show is interesting and hot. This information is not normally discussed in the open, yet it is very important. Wangare, I cannot agree more. And Ian Morogo Koech says, tuned in. I guess this is Philip says, I guess this information has changed my life for good. Matheka, he says that. And Peter Okoto says, imewaka mbaya. Foreplay muhimu.
Ni muhimu. In fact, I'm going to like his post.
I like that. I like that.
Imewaka sana. Remember, we are the adults in the room, and you're right in time for one of the best conversations we are having yet. We are discussing male versus female orgasms, facts, types, causes, and misconception with the one and only Maurice Matheka, who is a sex therapist and a relationship therapist as well. So remember, you can call us live right about now on 0719 012 600 and keep your feedback coming. Barbara, what are you learning?
Nothing fresh. Just people saying it's hot, it's live, they're taking notes. With one gentleman saying for him, his getting is called Matheka. He says, does it mean that if a man has acquired a certain level of equilibrium, that women can gulming or fulfill their will?
Well, I don't know what he means by
level of equilibrium.
Does it mean
what he's basically saying is, if you acquire certain skills, but those skills are more about knowing the female anatomy. It's not a particular thing that you're going to just do and it works. Just learn the anatomy, learn what triggers what, and you'll be good at what you do all the time.
Before we pick a call, I know we are telling men to learn the female anatomy. Do women also need to learn their anatomy? I know that is very basic.
Number one is females need to learn themselves.
Okay.
Number two is men learning about females. But number one, the most crucial thing a woman can ever do is learn about herself. She'll start enjoying sexuality much better.
Yes.
And it's because she now owns her orgasm. Mm-hmm. It's not about...
We do not need to rely on someone else.
Yes. And you see, and although some men get very pissed when they hear that their reliance is minimal, the point is every man wants to be able to give a woman an orgasm. Mm-hmm. So if a woman is already conditioned to have an orgasm, doesn't that simplify a man's ability to have sex?
Yes, it does.
And that's how it should be.
Yes.
If the woman learns herself, then that's the most beneficial thing. Mm-hmm. If a man happens to learn how a woman can be triggered, that's a bonus.
Yes.
But first the woman.
0719012600. I'm picking up your calls back to back, and because of the number of phone calls, tutaenda chap so napiksi muswali ivo.
Yes.
Please remember to opine the topic, reduce the volume of your radio or your gadget, and hey, be louder.
Alrighty, let's start with Bansi. Hey, Bansi.
Yes, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How is everyone?
Everyone is good, and what's your question, Bansi?
Okay, allow me to be out of topic a bit because Manuel, you hurt me so much.
Why did I hurt you, Bansi?
Because Eric, thank you so much for bringing up the topic that you had at the first hour. I'm sorry for being out of the topic, but I have to say this because if I don't say it, I will never heal from this.
Yes.
Okay? So, what you are talking about, women finding themselves dating men who are married, and maybe it's not that they know about it, but they just find themselves doing so.
Mm-hmm.
So, Barbara, I told you about this. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah, so when actually Emmanuel said about the belief that he said that he believed that if you date men that are married, maybe you have ever slept with them.
No, Bansi, you didn't get me. I said maybe, and that was a personal theory. I said a friend of mine told me something that she slept with a married man, and she ended up being, seduced by many married men. I did not say that it is a fact that I didn't say what you're saying. I said this is a friend who told me that story.
Okay, I get it. I get what you are saying.
Yes.
But what I'm saying, it really hurted me because I didn't know that maybe I heard Barbara saying that she also heard about it, but I didn't know that's what maybe.
I was telling him it's a superstition that people have, but it is not true.
Yeah. Bansi, yeah, that was just a theory. You don't have to be hot, man. We're just having one of those conversations that we have right here in the studio. But what are we talking about
We're
today?
talking about male versus female orgasms. We have a guest in the studio, Maurice Matheka. Please remember to opine on the topic, be louder, and reduce the volume of your radio. The number is 0719 012 600.
Hello, Charles.
Hello, good evening. Guys.
Good evening. How are you doing, my brother? And what are your thoughts? Leo tuko na Massimo mingi, tuko express.
Yeah, it's very good.
Talk to us, brother.
What I want to say is, first of all, to challenge you, Emmanuel.
Yes.
The other time you were so much surprised when Eric said that someone said that you can make a woman come every single time that
Yes.
you have coital.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be a question. It should be a rule.
Uh-huh.
There is no chance that you leave your woman hanging.
I'm learning these things, my brother.
Yeah, and I also want to support our guest and say hi to him.
I'm here. I can hear you. Cheers.
What you said about when maybe you're finger fucking home, you can touch the G spot.
Yes.
I've come to learn of a certain position that I always reach that, and she always clicks every single time we do this.
Fantastic.
It's about you going an extra mile as a man to learn your woman and not the most sensitive part of her, and she'll succeed this in every single time. There's no need a woman will go out there.
I hear you, and I agree with you.
Yeah, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles, man. We appreciate your feedback, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles, man. Hello, Space FM.
Please reduce the volume of your radio or your gadget. We are hearing feedback.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up, man? What are your thoughts?
Yes, this is a new caller from Malindi.
Yeah, Malindi, what's your name?
Yes, my name is John Mary.
All right, do you have a question for our guest?
Sorry?
Do you have a question? All right, we've lost him, man. One more call, and then we're going to get back into the convo. Spice FM, hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Actually, yes, my name is Pearl.
Pal, please reduce the volume of your radio or your gadget. Then please let us know what your question is.
Yeah, my name is Pearl. Actually, it's my first time to call on FM, and I was so happy about the topic. I've loved it. Thank you so much, you guys. You really talk things which happened in real life. And I'm encouraging people to always tune in and learn. We learn. We do. Actually, I'm so happy for that.
Thank you.
That's
for
why.
tuning in.
Thank you so much. Spice FM, hello. Alrighty, the calls are still coming in. 0719-012-600. We're having one of those candid, authentic conversations right here in studio. When you're talking to ladies, do you also train them in regard to handling the equipment? Because sometimes you come across ladies who handle your equipment like it's some sort of rubber duck. You know what I'm saying? It's, they don't handle it with the care that it's supposed to be accorded. Do you have those angles in your
Do I have sessions where I teach basically about how to give oral sex and how to handle the equipment? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But most women who come to me want to know first about their anatomy before the male.
Because theirs is basic, not in a bad way, guys.
Do you think that's like a wrong way of thinking? Because there's
What?
that thought that it's basic.
I think what she means by basic is we can't compare pleasuring a man and pleasuring a woman.
Yes.
We can't be equal.
And
We
we are
just
not.
Yeah, in case you're not aware, I also have a penis. So I'm saying this from good experience. You just can't
Thank you,
compare
Maurice,
the two. How to pleasure me is not scientific at all. How to pleasure her is
scientific.
But
in my opinion.
you've never met a lady and she's like, you're like,
No,
are
no,
you
no.
honestly?
I agree with you that
She's
there
a
are
poor
women
lover.
who do not know
Yes.
how to give a man certain pleasures. That I have agreed she needs to learn. But if you generalize how to pleasure me versus how to pleasure her, it won't be very hard for her to get me somewhere where I'm like, wow, I'm loving it. Whereas I'll need to know a few things about her to get her where she needs to be. Those are just basic facts.
Maurice, there's something that has come to mind when you are having this conversation with Emmanuel. Are there different levels of orgasms for men? I feel like sometimes there is a simple, I've busted a nut.
Yes.
And then there's when you're curling your toes and stuff.
Yes.
And I feel like there are women who can make you curl your toes and others just make you ejaculate.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yes.
That's based on the sexual connection you have with somebody. And that's why you find sometimes, especially if you did not marry the woman that triggered that sense in you, you'll always struggle. The truth of the matter is there are some connections that cannot be built even over 50 years.
Yes.
They can't. It's either there or it's not.
Yes.
So the men today who I've met who have been married for 15 to 30 years, who still have sex and not procreational but recreational. And you see, you need to understand, people don't just come to me because they have a problem. They come to me because they're in a good place, but they want to get to a better place. Like a man who knows he can make his woman orgasm, but not all the time. But now he wants to give her the kind of orgasm that causes her to squirt. So that's a client of mine. So it's not always people who are so suppressed sexually. I actually have very liberal people who want to learn. So in regards to intensity of an orgasm, yes, there's a woman who can really make you go places psychologically. And then there's another one who you don't have that connection. So you're just relieving each other of some pleasure.
Yeah. You know, just to couple up with what Emmanuel said, I've often realized, again from conversation and my own personal experience,
Yes.
that a lot of women are super ignorant about the penis and its abilities. So that they will be...
But they don't have a penis.
Yes, but there seems to be a lot of pressure about learn my anatomy, learn my body from women to men.
Yes.
But very little about women learning about men.
Yes.
A case in point, a woman will... you know the way, what is this, American football? No, cricket.
Yes.
You know the way those guys swing the cricket ball? What is that thing?
You mean baseball.
Is it baseball?
Even
Yes.
cricket, same thing.
Yeah, so you take the bat and you swing it and
Yes.
hit the ball.
Yes.
So some women handle the manhood like that.
Yeah.
They just
You
grab
feel like they want to
and they want to
remove it.
yak it out of
Yes,
you.
I agree.
So in their
What
minds,
have you done?
Yes.
in their minds, they think he's a man. I think the beast thing you're talking about.
Yes.
So the more I pull out your like ball socket and
Yes.
then you are hanging in.
Erigo,
Yes.
they do this for the guys watching.
Yes. So you see,
They
so the
bend it.
Yes. So the more they
Like Beckham.
So
Yes.
they are thinking in their mind, the more I pull you
Yes.
and sort of aggressively attack you, the better you'll be feeling.
Okay.
So I think just to couple up, I don't know if that was what Emmanuel was
Yes.
asking. Do you tell the ladies who you are meeting that do not try and unplug this wire out of the socket? That is not appealing to men.
Okay, yes. Let me tell you how I get to that. Before we have a session, I actually profile what your sexuality looks like. Like, for example, if it's a woman who is allergic to even touching a man's penis, we won't go down that road.
Yes.
Because that's not what she's paying me for. But if there's a woman who she already says, yeah, like I do give my man a blowjob, then we'll go down me teaching her how she can do it better. Because especially that woman who says, yeah, sometimes I do it, but then he looks bored.
You mean there's a problem there?
There's a problem, but there's a problem in many levels. One, just like us, she doesn't have a penis. We don't have a vagina. So even when we say she'll yank it off, jokingly, yes, it can be very painful. It can be very stressing to see a woman who does not know what she's doing. But don't you think for both genders, it's time we changed our psychology? And now, if a woman is about to touch your penis,
Talk to
first
them.
just tell her, hold on.
Yeah.
When you're touching it, there are a few things you should avoid doing. Or as she's touching it, tell her how you like it asserted.
Yes.
Sometimes they get
So-
overwhelmed in the midst of it.
It's the same
Yeah,
case
but
even
yes,
with men
but they also
overwhelmed.
get overwhelmed because you're also getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
When she's touching it, you're also moaning and groaning. Correct?
they don't know
You're
if
not
you're in
sat there
pain or
looking
you're
like you're
happy.
in duress, are you? So you're also pretending then to really enjoy it. I think another thing is, you're right, there are women who don't know what they're doing. But another thing that we do as men, and you as two men here will confirm, because I ask a lot of men, like, how come you put yourself in that position? I've had plenty of men who have told me I had a really horrible session with a woman. When she touched my penis, at some point I thought she was going to remove it. Yeah, or she's changing gears, like a manual car. And I asked him, did you voice out your concern? He said, no, because it took me so long to convince her to sleep with me.
Oh, Lord.
I thought if I open my mouth and tell her how badly she's doing, she'll just change her mind and wear her clothes and leave. So clearly that guy's penis mismanagement was not that bad. Because he knew they were going to move on from here, and at some point they get to the next stage. So he was not willing to kill one vibe to kill the entire night. So us men sacrifice that.
And maybe it's an assumption.
Yes,
You don't hurt their feelings.
Sorry?
You don't hurt their feelings, more or less.
Yes, but it's the same way women will say, I didn't tell a guy this because I didn't want to hurt his ego, bruise him, blah, blah, blah. But I think we should be more honest with each other sexually. It's the only way we're going to learn each other.
I've said here before on this show that, and Barbara seemed quite shocked as a bunch of women. I said that a lot of women are ignorant about men being sensitive, especially in the penis area.
Yes.
And also coupled up with them being not in the mood. It's often baffled me that women are baffled that men are not in the mood. They're just like, what do you mean? Why are you rejecting me? I remember an ex of mine would say, Eric, I don't like rejection. When I'd say, I'm not in the mood right now. So a lot of women read not in the mood as you rejecting them. And also that not all men enjoy things like a blowjob.
True.
Right. Like some detest it.
Yes.
Some go flaccid when you try perform oral sex on them.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it doesn't mean there's
Or even
anything-
touch their testicles.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with
No,
you.
it doesn't.
So I feel like there are those.
It just means that's not your cup of tea.
We're all
Absolutely.
different.
Yes.
But there's something you've just said, which I think is a massive misconception. Men are not always in the mood.
Yes.
And when we're in the mood, we pick who to be in the mood with.
Yes.
So we are biologically designed to want to have sex. And one of the reasons is we produce semen. Do you know you produce semen every second of the day? You're producing semen. It has to go somewhere. It has to be ejaculated. And then now that's where we go into, you need a wife so that you can have sex with her, blah, 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 blah. But if you move away from that, you could easily ejaculate in a cup and you're done. But we look for women to have sex with, which now avails our opportunity to ejaculate.
Yes.
So in our design, when you hear women saying things like, "Oh, men are always horny," no. Sex is around us every day. Like you guys are in an office full of men and women, and some of the women come dressed in a very provocative way, but not provocative in terms of sexual, because we've sexualized things. Every time you look at her, you think, "Oh my God, she's so hot." But then we turn the hot into a sexual thing rather than just appreciating
And
that
it
she
ends
knows how
there.
to coordinate her garments. So with that means sex is always everywhere. You go to Nairobi town, Kenyan women are actually very beautiful women around the world. True or false?
They're gorgeous.
So you see beauty everywhere. So obviously, what does beauty do the minute we see it with our visual cortex? It transforms us into procreational beings. That's why you're always looking at her ass, her tits, depending on what your preferences are. So our biology is very sexual, but we're not always in the mood, especially with somebody that you have so many unresolved issues with, and that can describe what you're and number one, women, unlike us, are not built for rejection. All men who are listening here, from the time we started looking at girls when we were boys, if you were lucky, you had either a father or a cousin or an uncle who told you your heart is going to be broken for a very long time until one day you know it's just second nature for a girl to say no. You go over to a girl and you tell her, "I like you." She says, "Well, I don't like you." And you're like, "Cool." But women were
When you
not
tell them
taught
that, they want to
To
die.
deal with rejection.
that you can say no. And that's why she's telling you, "I'm not good with rejection." Women were not built for rejection at all.
It's important they understand that we are not always on, like switches.
No. And depending on the psychology I have with you, I won't be on. If I see you as somebody who's always negative about me, always reminding me about things I've not done, things I've promised, things I should do, then at some point, even my sexual intent towards you can clearly change.
Absolutely.
It will drop.
Absolutely.
You know, Eric, also there are some chicks who don't handle the equipment with confidence. Huh?
I think those are people you don't have a sexual friendship with. It's about time we've been
No,
told,
I think the
have a
solution to
sexual
that is the
friendship with each
conversation.
other.
Like, tell her, hey, man. But maybe that's not our preference. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Teach her.
Like, it's like an egg, eh? An egg goes
When you say confidence, just explain that. Just
no, like handling the equipment
Yes.
with confidence.
Confidence,
Like
yes,
you hold it with
Maybe somebody who wants to be wanted. Like, give me this.
not with
Remember, she
roughness,
doesn't
but
know.
with
Some
it's not,
oomph,
have you ever
some
Have you ever
command.
shaken someone's hand and they have that limp handshake?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so something like that. You're like, hey, what kind of handshake is this? Like, why can't you shake my hand with confidence?
So you
That's what I
want it
meant.
to be shaked with confidence.
But you need to realize that maybe her confidence comes from the fact that she's thinking she might fail you. See, we're always thinking somebody before us was better than us. It's the unfortunate truth. So every time she comes, and especially if this is the first session she's having with you, she's thinking, I don't know much about him. I don't even know how he likes it. I can't
Is
ask
it
him because
okay?
if I ask him, I'll look like I'm a novice. Yet in asking, you learn. And then I, as the man, instead of telling her what to do and instilling some confidence, I just look at her like, okay, intern, let's see what you got here.
Yes.
You know, so we need to change that. We need to start giving people who are handling us information that will pleasure us.
You know,
Communicate.
Maurice, there's another thing that a lot of us still battle with. A lot of us do not confess to it. But say I've dated Barbara and I used to be the Superman of her life. The moment I start, she screams.
Okay.
She says, okay, the way you enter, you know.
Yes.
So then I take this mentality about my machismo expertise, yada, yada, with Barbara.
Yes.
And I transport it to Lucy.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of men think that because they scored so highly with Barbara, they will then score with Lucy.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little about the importance of recognizing the differences in individual sexual needs and even preference, so that we are not lied to ourselves that, you know what I will do with Barbara will work with Jane, will work with Sophie, will work with Phoebe, will work with Nyeri and Agnes.
Okay. What I can say is the example you've given. Now let's the context here is that Barbara was not faking. You were actually
yes.
giving
Yes,
her
yes.
sexual
She
satisfaction.
told all of her friends
Yes.
that I'm amazing.
Brilliant. Now the problem is when you move to Lucy, when you start asserting whatever you used to assert with Barbara on Lucy, you're forgetting that there's a certain rhythm of application that Barbara liked that Lucy does not like or has never experienced.
Yes.
Lucy has probably even looked at you and she's thinking, wow, this guy has come with this ego that he knows my body, yet he doesn't.
Yes.
So even that psychology in itself can make her not learn what she could be feeling. So I think what you need to do is every time you're with a new person, you should ask them, do you like rough? Do you like sensual? Are you into BDSM? What are your
Like
fantasies?
that's during
What
your
are
dinners, etc.
Yes.
Yes.
First and foremost, it's good you've mentioned that. I don't recommend all these niceties that people throw at each other at dinners and coffees, because everyone starts being very pretentious. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a radio presenter. Oh, really? Wow. That's so interesting. No, it's not. I'm not here to find out whether you're a radio presenter or not.
Yes.
I'm here to find out whether we're compatible. I'm not here to find out who Matheka is as a sexologist. That's crap. I want to know if we're going to be compatible or not.
If it's
So
gonna work.
people fear to share the things that are actually going to help them later in life. And then what happens is, if you don't share during your first 2-3 dates, you're going to have problems when you're now in a committed relationship. And those problems you'll find sometimes are not fixable because you never had chemistry. You just happened to be together because no one likes being alone, and somebody for once agreed to go for coffee. So you thought, let me just date them.
So, Maurice, what are you saying? That, hi, what's going on? I have a small penis. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm not. No. Why you even went there, I don't know. But after all, she's going to assess the size of your penis.
When I get
Yes.
there, not before.
Yeah, because first of all, you're forgetting. Maybe her ex had a frighteningly big one.
So she wants
she
a
might
small.
be encouraged when she gets with a smaller one.
Yes.
She just needs to know how to work it. So it's not about your size. Just tell her what you're about. Tell her that, you know what, first and foremost, I don't like women who are not liberal. Then she asks, oh, what does that mean?
Yes.
I like women who can explore in the bedroom. I like women who can be creative in even in the kitchen. You pretend you're cooking, but really you want to brew something between me and you need to tell her who you are rather than the niceties that I see
superficial
people
things.
all the time. Oh, really? Blah, blah, blah. Then you start telling each other about, oh, you know, I'm from this village. Who cares what village you're from? Oh, do you know I'm from this religion? Oh, brilliant. So you can kneel. I don't know. And it's the wrong kind of kneeling you're discussing. Yeah. You need to be asking each other and sharing about the core things that make a relationship work. When and the worst thing is, some men are about flattery, so she'll, the guys there telling her about all these tenders he's about to win. What? Mafakta, I want to travel to Nyanyuki to look at this land. Yeah, this land is not going to give her orgasms. Not unless she's got this crazy fetish. Every time she sees soils, she has an orgasm. So clearly, why don't you discuss things that are important to the future? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
Eric, kumbe, you're not the only guy who's like that. Like, see, you normally talk about these things. Like, I'm thinking you're normal.
Yeah.
I'm always saying be straight up. You guys say no.
And Emmanuel says I'm abnormal. I'll ask you something before I forget. When we come back before the break. No, I can ask it, then you'll answer when you come back after the break.
Okay.
Since we were talking about dinner and coffees, how important is it?
Yeah.
And if at all there is some science to this, to dine and wine a woman before you go home and whatever.
Yeah, man.
But when we come back.
Okay. When we come back. I like the question.
We are Spice FM. We are the adults in the room right here in the studio. The station is Spice FM. We're the home of authentic conversation. And man, today's conversation, man. Huh? Barbara.
I'm happy you're learning. Jipigie makofi.
Nitajipigia nikirudi. But meanwhile, some Elton John coming up. This is actually one of my favorite jams. Eric, this song, the story of the song is this guy falls in love with an East German soldier.
Yes.
A female East German soldier. So they can never ever meet. So he just decides to sing his love for this lady, man. One of the biggest songs by Elton John. I'm sure you have something to say about it.
And I'll tell you about a woman I met in Oyugis who I have never met again. About.
This song is on my phone. It's one of the top my favorites on my playlist. 10 minutes to 10 o'clock. We are the adults in the room. I'm in studio with the usual suspects. Eric, you had something to say about
Yes, I was just saying, just like Elton John and Nikita, there's a woman I once met randomly in a small town called Oyugis. And I've never met her again. But it was a very interesting session.
Ever?
Many years back, maybe 18 years. And I've never met her ever again. I hope someday.
You're Nikita.
Nitakutana naye. But I can't even remember her name, which is a shame. And 18 years ago, there was no Facebook. There was no mobile.
That's a long time ago.
That is a long
But there were many call booths.
Yeah, but I didn't think that fast. Huh?
It was a one-off.
She was a gorgeous woman. Anyway, Barbara would have scared us ever. Francis Mwangi says, I'm tuned in from Nyeri and the conversation is lit. Maurice, guys are loving you, man. You gotta come back. You definitely have to.
Thank you very much, man.
Imewaka mazee imewaka, somebody says. The menace. But then, Maurice, there's a song I heard over the weekend. I don't know if you're privy to local music. Do you listen to a lot of bongo and stuff like that?
He just
Maurice can sing.
I listen to it when it comes by, but it's not on my phone playlist.
Right. That's what happened to me.
I'm more of a kind of Luther Vandross, Washington,
look at you.
People Bryson.
You're a spice man.
Maurice, do you want to sing a little?
No.
You can sing.
How do you know
sing.
I can sing?
Research.
I sing, then we do
How
research.
do you know?
No, I know. A little bird.
Maurice,
Oh, Little Bird. Huh?
would you like
Do you
to
do
sing for
karaoke?
us?
Oh, I do.
Do you want to do a
I've
line?
even done a few things with some bands and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. No, do us a number. Luther Vandross.
Do us a line.
Or anything
Just
you
a
feel
line.
like.
Why are you guys looking at me like you want to dish me?
No,
Of course, you're an expert.
you're a man of many talents, man. Guys need to hear these are the side.
Hey, you've done your research. Huh?
And Luther Vandross.
It's called
Luther.
reason.
Yes.
Or anything.
Stevie Wonder. There's one called Lately. Lately I have had the deepest feeling. There you go.
That's it.
That's it.
You know, the goodness
That's
with
it.
Maurice, he's very good at just giving you
Anaconda.
No, it's good to give kidogo.
Akupatii kila
Maurice,
kitu.
Do you know the
How much are
favorite
these-
of mine of Stevie Wonder that I like? Us.
You like us? Huh?
I like us. I love it.
Maurice, I want to ask on behalf of these ladies who do not want to ask, or have not called, how much are these sessions?
The one-on-one session where I teach you how to orgasm, how to squirt, is 25,000
For the
for the 3 to 5 hours.
okay,
For couples, it's 35,000.
okay.
And do you have many couples dashing there, like married couples running into you? I'm sure there are many, yeah?
I have many couples, but I have more women who want to understand themselves than I do couples. But I have many couples. Especially in the last 10 years, I've had an influx of couples.
Married couples or mixed matched couples?
Mixed match
Okay.
couples.
Maurice, I asked you a question before I lose my chain of thought.
Yes.
Before we went on a break, I was asking, since we were talking about dining and whining, how important is it? And this is a very personal question. Because one time, these women I was dating would tell me, you don't even wine and dine me. You don't even wine and dine me. And then one time, randomly, I was out of town. I was in Lamu. And they came back and said, see, do you want to meet up for, hangout? And then it was a very happy ending. A very, very happy ending. So the question is,
Yes.
how important is it? And is there some science behind dining and whining a woman before having a really great time?
I have nothing against whining and dining, but when it comes to men, let's be honest that if your intentions are short term, don't start whining and dining her just for the sake of wanting to get between her legs. Just tell her what you want, and then you can wine and dine if that's your thing, but don't wine and dine because that's your way into her pants. Do you get what I'm saying? If you usually wine and dine by yourself or with your friends, that's your lifestyle. So you can apply that. But if you suddenly have an urge to go to an expensive restaurant because you want to stimulate her in any way, then you're being deceptive in your courtship. So clearly at some point she would learn, even though you've had a great time, that there's an expiry date.
Yes.
I mean, expiry dates are always there. Even people who say they love each other forever, sometimes there's an expiry date.
Love it.
So the whining and dining is not the problem. What are your intentions? And are you whining and dining yet you're a guy of nyamachoma? Just be who you are. I find it strange when women sometimes tell me, oh, I went on a date and the guy took me to a nyamachoma place and within an hour, 2 of his pals also turned up. But I thought he was going to take me to a restaurant because the other guy I used to date took me to a restaurant. Then I feel like saying, well, then you should have just called the other guy, because what this guy is showing you is I don't open doors.
Yes.
I don't pull chairs. But I know how to eat nyama. Are you a nyama chick or not? Then
So
you're in or you're out. I don't think all men should be pressured to suddenly learn how to be romantic in terms of whining and dining. And to be honest with you, when I was younger, I used to find whining and dining very romantic. Today, it's just 2 people eating because we're hungry. The romance comes from
Really,
the conversation.
Maurice?
Yes, no, the romance comes from the conversation we're having. Because I've gone to a restaurant and seen people in a really amazing restaurant. They've served sizzling food. It's literally sizzling. Even the guy who's serving it just looks like the place. But the two have not said a word to one another other than ask for the menu and ask for the bill. So clearly they just came to a lavish place just to enjoy the meal and leave. So if there's no conversation, there's no point taking her to a nice restaurant. So I think the conversation is complemented by the fact that, wow, we're in a nice steakhouse, or I like seafood, or I like Chinese, or I like Japanese. But the Japanese food should not be intentional, hoping that it's going to marinate her vagina. Now that's my issue with whining and dining.
Maurice, from just hanging out with you for the last 2 hours,
Yes.
I feel like you're very big on authenticity.
I am, yes.
Yeah, so
It's important. If
think
you're not
that's-
authentic, then things are going to fail at some point.
which is we're going to lead to the problem we're talking about not having the orgasm. It's interesting.
Yes, just be genuine if you don't know something. And that's another thing we fail at. All Kenyans are specialists at everything. I meet Kenyans every day who are sexologists.
And
when I say that is, they're experts at everything.
Yes.
I think there's one thing we failed as humans all around the world. We told people they have an opinion. Sometimes they don't have an opinion. Let me give you an example in my world. There's a time I was with a clique of guys who are in aviation. Do you know what I told myself? Maurice, today is the day you keep quiet and learn about aviation. Because the much I know about aviation is planes have turbine engines, and that's from reading. And they have seats. That's where I usually sit. That's it. I don't know how to pilot anything, so I can't really have an opinion. But you'll find a guy there who's never been on a plane. He has an opinion about turbines. Kwani his kitchen cooker is
turbine.
moving on turbines.
I know, and many Kenyans have an opinion of everything.
Everything. You're not a specialist in everything.
Maurice, thank you so much for making the time. If someone wants to find you, anakupataje?
They can go to my site, mauricetherapy.com. They can go on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Or simply, if you remember my name, Maurice Matheka, just Google. All my handles will appear. So it's easy. And my number is there. It's on Facebook. It's on my site. Yes. And I'm very approachable. Yes. What I don't like is this. Don't text me on WhatsApp and don't introduce yourself.
All right.
I like, hi, my name is... and then you tell me what your issue is. But I don't like these people who are like, Sasa. And then they keep quiet. Then me, I just go Sasa. So 40 Sasas later, no one knows what the hell is happening.
Oh, man, but it was such a delight. Eric, you want to thank our guest?
Thank you so much, Maurice, man.
Oh, it's been great, man. Thanks very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure, and I've learned so much personally. And keep doing the Lord's work.
Asante, I'm here to help those who want to be helped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it took me a long time to master my skill. Yeah, so if you just need to upgrade yourself sexually, just holla and we will get to it.
Man, Superman loading, man. Kisiangani Superman. Can you imagine?
And I love the music on this station.
No, it's lovely. 94.4. You need to make it.
It's mature, it's adult.
And Maurice, every day at 6 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. we have the Situation Room. Very mature conversation from 6 to 10. And in the afternoon at 3 o'clock all the way to 7. We have the Spice Drive with Monique. She's the honey voice. Yes. You'll hear her and you'll know why. And
so let me ask you, that voice of yours, it must be just making panties drop everywhere.
He doesn't utilize it.
Okay,
he doesn't.
Lakini kama hivyo ndio una feel as a professional. I think kuna kitu hapo.
I can tell you he doesn't.
Guys, we've had a very good time. Have a very good night. Remember, music all night long, so you don't have to touch that dial. On behalf of everyone in the studio, including Mumbi, our super duper producer, and Bran Amlio.
Oh yeah,
look good online. Have a very, very good night.
Cheers, guys.
Exactly.
Have a good evening.